Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports podcast. I am here tonight to cover the Rowdies like we usually do. I am here tonight with my
Yep.
usual co host. In the background, we've got some unusual rain for this drought period, but other than that,
Ooh,
I guess we frequently enough start this with a weather report, even though that's not what we're doing. But Carlos, how are you today? Are you also dealing with a drought or rainy conditions or anything like that?
James, it was 90. I think the high is 96 degrees right now in
You,
Washington, D.C.
jeez.
I wouldn't mind it if I was back home in Florida, obviously, because there's beaches I can escape to and a coastal breeze. And that doesn't really exist here. It's just uh, it's a swamp. Like politically, I mean, we all the time, but more importantly, it's a swamp. Like environmentally, it's the worst. Washington D.C. is a great city most of the time, but every once in a while, when you get close to summer, it's a nightmare. So I'm sweating. I made the effort to get to the gym still, though. So applaud me for that. I'll also applaud the Rowdies for the performance this weekend. That was a blast to watch. I'll tell you that much. Um, I had to go back and rewatch this one because Saturday was a busy day of graduation for my girlfriend. Shout out to Faith and family in Cincinnati. Um, but it was still a fun game to watch. Sometimes when we do this podcast, James, we have a result that is not so fun. Um, and then I go back and rewatch it, and I don't know why I do that. Right? This game a lot more fun to watch. So we'll talk about it a little bit. Obviously, a great result, but I'll say that for a minute. James, other than the weather, everything good down there in rainy Tampa Bay?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is so good here. And with our transition back to the Rowdies, yes,
Yep.
everything is looking fantastic because this past weekend, the Rowdies played in Florida, not in St. Petersburg, Florida, but still within the state. And they left the Miami with a 4-1 win. This was in the USL Cup and not in the league, so we don't necessarily get to have the goal differential there or anything like that. But hey, I can still say that we kicked some ass down there, and I
Yep.
think that
Yep.
just makes everybody feel pretty good. Now this week the Rowdies have two games coming up, and we will preview them both. I apologize for not setting this up where we would have recorded yesterday on Monday because that's usually what we do when we have two games. This past weekend it was my wife's birthday. Happy birthday to her, and that means that I will not, or that means that I was not able to give anybody any kind of preparation for this, and I was not able to prepare myself. So we are going today on Tuesday, and when you listen to this podcast when it comes out, the game will be later tonight. But luckily, there are plenty of hours in between when it will actually come out on the stream and when the game will start. So hopefully, that will give you all the time you need to get into our previews, which will actually, of course, take up the vast majority of this podcast because we have to do two of them. Like
Yep.
and subscribe to us on YouTube, any major podcast platform. And of course, please follow RBLR Sports on all your social medias at RBLR Sports. We will do a quick recap and jump into questions here. The starting 11 was Jamali Waite, Dion Akoff, Brian Schaefer, Nathan Dos Santos, and Charlie Ostrom at the back. Sebastian Cruz and Max Schneider behind Louis Perez, Pedro Dolabella, Mateus Oliveira, and MD Myers. Obviously, the Rowdies staff decided that even though this was a cup game, they are going for it. And anybody who says that they're not going for it in the cup games, well, this is one of their lineups that we would see, I think, any given week in the league. So,
It's a trophy. It's a
yeah,
trophy.
they
Go
are
for it.
going for it.
Yeah.
They're going for the trophy.
Yeah.
Um, the Rowdies scored early. The Rowdies scored often in this one, but I think probably something that came up, if I had to guess, in the locker room was unfortunately we did not keep a clean sheet here. That's not always something that you can do, but just something that everybody would prefer to do when you're up 4-0. So we'll get to that when we get to all of the goals in this one. Cicerone not on the bench, as noted by Carlos here. We hope that's just a coach's decision, no injury, but we do not know at this point. So we will see, of course, when the Rowdies line up against New Mexico. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more information from the team.
Yeah.
In the standings, we are going to talk about the standings from the USL Cup this 2026 that is unfortunately called the Prince Tires Cup. I don't know why, but the Prince Tires USL Cup as a Florida-only division. Tampa Bay Rowdies lead with 6 points from their 2 games. Miami also have 6 points, but they have played 3 games, and that's why we are ahead of them, as well as goal differential. Hey, Sporting Jacks have 4 points from their 3 games, which is, I guess, better than I expected, but we'll see how it continues for them. FC Naples has 2 points from their 2 games, and Sarasota Paradise has 0 points from 2 games. So there you go. I don't know what else to say about Sarasota. That's how that's going to go. In our own standings, I am the only one who did not get a point because I am the only dummy who did not say that the Rowdies were going to win the game. I said,
how could you?
I said that it was going to be a draw and then we would win on penalties, and I was wrong. So Eureka has 14 points, Carlos has 12, Connor has 11, I still have 8, and Parker has 7. It is obviously very tight there. And we'll see how it plays out. So without further ado, in this recap, let's get into our actual analysis. Carlos, this was a great game.
It's fun to watch.
For the Tampa Bay Rowdies. I had concerns that playing on this weird turf field would mess us up. It really, I guess, didn't hold us back.
I had concerns about the raucous crowd. I mean, it's a difficult place to play in front of the reported 762 people in attendance. That was my biggest concern. I don't know what you're talking about the field, but go ahead.
Yes, that's fair. I think that we do need to make note of, as you said, a raucous crowd down in what is definitely Miami proper and not any other location that they are going to play in for the rest of the season or in the future. They are Miami FC, and we should all respect that. But yes, so my opinion was that it seems like Miami kind of showed up to this like it was a cup game. And the Rowdies showed up with a little bit more intensity, but in all honesty, even more than our intensity, because it wasn't necessarily. I can't say what the players felt when they left the field. It didn't seem like the most intense game they've ever played, but I do think that it was one of the best finishing games that I've ever seen from any Rowdies team. It was incredible goals, like most of the time. So that's kind of my quick overview. Carlos, what is your overall takeaway from this one against Miami?
First thing I'll say, just to contextual again, I think it's important when we talk about these cup games. Like I still think a lot of people are figuring out what the hell the Prince Tires Cup actually is. So and we talked about it last week about how important this game was if we're actually going to go for this tournament, right? You mentioned it. We're tied with Miami on points. We have a game in hand on them. We have 6 points in our 2 games. They have 6 points from their 3 games. And now we also have the tiebreaker on them, which is head-to-head results. I think now if you're the Rowdies, you're in a really comfortable position going ahead into your last 2 games in this group stage. Don't go into it like with all the youth, exclusively maybe, but now you have Jacksonville away and Naples at home. Naples is playing all right in League One. Jacksonville is awful in the championship. But we have to go away to Jacksonville, right? And that was tougher than we expected earlier on in the season when we played them in league play, right? So don't rule anything out just yet. But I think the Rowdies are in a really comfortable position, having a game in hand on both Miami and then the third place team as well, Sporting Jacks, with the last 2 games of the group stage play to play. Reminder, first place team is the only team that gets the guaranteed spot in the next round. After that, it's the next 2 highest scoring teams in second place in the rest of the groups. Weird tiebreaker, but I guess the incentive is to go out and score a bunch of goals. Which we did, right? So I guess in that sense, I'm even comfortable with the idea that we'll probably finish with the most goals in the group. So that's why that's a big game. That's why this is a big result. I think you're guaranteed to make it into the next round with a win and a draw in your last 2 games. And again, I don't think that's a huge ask considering the opponents we're playing here. Jacks away. And then Naples at home. So I think you should probably win both of those. But I think there's going to be a little bit of room for rotation in those games. So just looking ahead a little bit, contextualizing this result, kind of putting us in a really nice spot going ahead. We talked about this being a big game for this tournament, and they capitalized on the opportunity. Great lineup, like you said. I thought it was a little interesting that Cicerone wasn't around at all. I don't think there was anything of note in terms of an injury that was reported anywhere. But the guy's been playing ridiculous minutes, right? He's been playing a lot of soccer early on in the year, running up and down the field. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where Casciato is comfortable just kind of leaving him off of the 18 called up to, so to sit this one out, get a game to relax, especially considering the fact that we're going to New Mexico, probably, today or yesterday as we're talking about this live, right? The squad's probably already over there. So a good amount of travel, not that Miami is super far, right? We'll talk about New Mexico game in just a second. But I'm also surprised, that being said, at the extent of what I would consider like starters actually making an appearance in this game. They went all out, James, right? MD Myers was your guy up top, and of course had a game and a half, 2 goals to his name. The one coming right out of halftime was 100% the nail in the coffin. Rowdies were up 2-0 beginning of the second half. Commentators are literally in that moment talking about how important that next goal is, right? If Miami wants a chance to come back, they're going to want to score that next goal and make it 2-1. As they're talking about that, MD Myers, beautiful header, beautiful play to set it up, by the way. MD Myers kind of in the middle of the field, puts a nice little looping ball to Dion Akoff out wide. Akoff holds for just a second. He has a lot of space. Gives MD Myers time to kind of run into the box, delay his run in there. And the only 2 Miami defenders in the area are distracted by 2 other Rowdies that are making their presence known, who I'm forgetting at the moment. But point is, MD Myers, ton of space in the middle. Dion Akoff, beautiful cross, nailed in the coffin. Rowdies go up 3-0. And that's not talking about, the bangers of goals that we saw, other than that. It was dominant. It was beautiful. It was fun to watch. I'm going back to the crowd because it's so like unexhilarating to watch this as a fan of the Rowdies and not have like any sort of atmosphere to look at in the broadcast. I hope they figure this out when they go to Homestead, because this isn't sustainable for Miami FC. I feel like it's only gotten worse as the last few seasons have gone on. Separate point. On-field stuff, MD Myers looks like the guy that we talked about him being, right?
Yep.
It's hard. It's been hard, I think, for kind of one attacker to stand out with how stacked that attacking unit is. But he looks like the guy that we've seen play against us in Charleston, right? So it was a fun lineup, whatever. Interesting again. I think one more thing I'll note about the lineup was Akoff, Ostrom, and Cruz being on the field together starting again. I want to say it was the last game when that was the same. Yeah, it was last game against Rhode Island last weekend was Akoff, Ostrom, and Cruz starting together, all 3 of them again, which surprised me back then because we'd seen a lot of rotation between those 3, whether Akoff comes off at halftime and Cruz comes on and Ostrom shifts out to the left side. Like there's just been a lot of rotation between those 3, whether in game or week to week. But now this is 2 weeks in a row where you see them all on the field at the same time, starting together. Interesting. Yeah, we know Cruz is really good in the midfield and in the attack. We've seen him score that one banger earlier on this year. Obviously got an assist in this game as well. James, I want to ask you this. I don't know if you noticed this. Cruz, I want to say this was a second game in a row where he was more in the center of the field than he was out wide, which is where we've kind of gotten accustomed to him being, at least in the starting portion of the game. Joshua Perez is kind of starting in that, I say kind of, it's dynamic with the Casciato squad. Perez out wide, Mateus maybe out wide. FOTMob says he's out wide. I'm not trusting FOTMob for like my my judgment here, but Matea seemed to play a little bit out wide. Dolabella obviously kind of right behind Myers, and obviously Myers up top as striker. What have you made of Sebastian Cruz so far earlier this year? Because I still feel like out of all the players who have, stood out, Cruz has been the most interesting to me. And I think he showed it again. Another dynamic performance from him in a position where I didn't expect him to play. But this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think worth shouting out because he had another good game. Sebastian Cruz, thoughts, James?
Yeah, he has definitely been a very good signing here. And in all honesty, I mean, I guess my question with where we are now for Sebastian, related to Sebastian Cruz, is how he was not in the championship and at like our team at Louisville City, at Phoenix, at Sacramento before this. It's just, it doesn't really make a ton of sense here.
Yeah.
Not only is he a good player within multiple different positions, you hear the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. And that's not Sebastian Cruz. Like, he is kind of a jack of all trades. You can put him at left back.
Master of all of them. Like, yeah.
He did well at left back. Maybe that wasn't his absolute best position. He did well at right back. You've had him as a wide midfielder / attacking midfielder. As you said, I don't really think that you can have like just wide midfielders in a Dominic Casciato team. Luis Perez will slide in from the right because he's left-footed. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And Mateus actually starts on the left side where he is left-footed, but he will also, we've seen him before, he will carry the ball into the middle of the field. And the fullback on
watch. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. And the fullback on either side will come in behind them and kind of add to the numbers there. But we're not a team that is just built around crosses. I think that the Rowdies, especially in our wingback years, we would have 3 at the back. We would have wingbacks going up the sides, and we would get the ball to them, and we would get a lot more crosses. It's not really about that here.
Yeah.
It's about building numbers and building triangles on either side. So obviously there is space out on the wings, but even more than that, Charlie Ostrom is going to interact with Mateus and Pedro Dolabella and possibly Max Schneider or Lewis Hilton or whoever's out there. I guess it would have been, in this case, it would have been Mateus, Ostrom, and Dolabella. And on the right side, I think what we saw a lot of was Akoff and Perez and Sebastian Cruz, the person who started this question. So that's more what it's about. And Dion Akoff and Charlie Ostrom, they will get to the wing or the byline, and they will just whip the ball into the box every so often. But again, that's not the goal. That is I guess not a break glass in case of emergency, but we can say a plan B, possibly, depending on how it goes. I would say possibly a plan C.
It's supplemental. Like it's nice when it's nice when it's there. Like on the third goal, right? On the MD Myers goal that kind of put the game away out of reach. And by the way, Eureka is on the YouTube, dropping in the comments. We'd love to hear from you if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, criticisms about my lack of a fade in a few weeks. Drop them. I'm curious about what the thoughts are on this Miami game and a really big week coming up with 2 games here. The MD Myers goal, I think, encapsulates what we're talking about right now, right? You have Dion Akoff out wide, kind of just drifting into space where there is some, like, Miami's pinned down. Like, we're pushing them back. Dion kind of slowly makes his way up. MD Myers sees him over there, and it's if it's there, you take it, right? But we've been in the past so reliant on the wingbacks in that formation, right? When we're playing with kind of like three back and then 2 wingbacks, we were so reliant on wingbacks over the last 5-6 years, which isn't an awful thing. Like, Neil Collins' teams played great soccer and it worked a lot. But it became predictable, in a number of
issue.
Over the course of a number of games, right? When you play against the really good teams in the league, you can't just overpower them with talent and speed and finesse that the Rowdies roster seemed to have for a while. But because they can match you talent wise, right? And they could, play your system. It's so dynamic. It's so fun to watch. You can point to so many of the guys on the field and just think about a different contribution they had at different points in the game. It's been cool. It's been cool to watch. So I think you said that well, right? Like kind of the fullbacks are there, but like they don't need to be all the way up the field for us to make chances happen. Despite that, both Ostrom and Akov had assists in this game, right? So it's like it can happen, and it does when there's space, and when a team like Miami is just kind of letting you go at them for a little bit, there'll be an extra space, right?
Yeah. And this game, just to jump in on that really quickly, I don't think that this game is the best representative of what the Rowdies can do and what the Rowdies can't do. We obviously did have a lot of very good finishes here. And honestly, even more than that, we had a lot of good chances. I think that we scored a couple of chances that were probably lower value, right? Like going back to expected goals. I think that we possibly had some goals off of lower expected goals, and then created good chances where I think we were close to hitting the post, or Eloy Room made a very good save. But the point here is that, we were doing very well in a lot of instances where I just think, honestly, Miami didn't totally show up in this game. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
But it looked to me like we were playing at a level that they just weren't. And on the other side of that, while I also say this, I don't think that Miami is as bad a team this year. So this was a bit of a fluky game. We shouldn't extrapolate everything from this game. The Rowdies are not as good as a 4-1 win over Miami, and Miami is not as bad as a 4-1 loss. But at the same time, all of these things, it's still part of the pattern of the way that the Rowdies have been playing. And it's all very positive. To finish off the Sebastian Cruz thing, he's just been he is that thing that I said, like a jack of all trades, but again, not a master of none. He can handle all of these positions, and he slots in seamlessly because he really understands what we're trying. He's obviously got the control on the ball to keep it in the tough positions, which is what Dominic Casciotto wants. He's got technical players in these more attacking midfield roles. Max Schneider, Lewis Hilton, who are not necessarily untechnical, but they're not the skilled guys that usually hold the ball in tight spaces, right? So think of Luis Perez, think of Mateus, think of Dolabella, think of Cicerone has done this a lot, and Sebastian Cruz too. These guys can keep the ball in tight spaces, and they can also, most especially, they can create these little triangles, these 2 and 3 on ones. And that's what we're trying to see. Sebastian Cruz has done this from multiple spots. So for one thing, he just must be very good at taking in his instructions wherever he's supposed to be on the field.
Yeah. Numbers back it up. Rowdies 21 shots, Miami 7. Rowdies 7 shots on target, Miami 3. 4 big chances for the Rowdies. 1 missed to Miami's 1 big chance. Where's my favorite stat? Where is it? I'm on my laptop. I'm usually on my phone on the side. Different layout. James, where's my favorite stat? The touches inside the box. I'll have to find it later. Point is, Rowdies dominant, Miami bad, but not a bad team, right? Again, you pointed out they're much better than they have been in the past. They're not the walkover that they were a couple seasons ago, or pushover is probably a better word. In fact, they are, where are they in the league standings right now? 6th, right? They are ahead of Pittsburgh, who had a couple of good results in the last few weeks. Indy, who's kind of finding themselves. Birmingham, Rhode Island, who we drew 2 away. And like I said, will probably be a better team than 10th by the end of the year. They're in the mix there with Hartford, who's played really good soccer, and Detroit, who's playing really good soccer too. Like, it's a different Miami team. I'd be lying to you if I said with 100% confidence that this was like their full, 11 starters. I know Locadia wasn't available because of the red card, but it didn't look to me to be like a massively rotated squad or anything, James.
No,
it looked to be, and this is probably a product of this tournament being played on weekends more so than weekdays, right? It's not really like the Open Cup where you have like an extra game now to play. They actually removed league games to be able to play this tournament. So it's not like you're really pushing the limits of players' stamina over the course of the season. Like, it's pretty standard timeline, week to week, right? So there's not a ton of reason to rest like a full squad for a game like this, especially for a game that's important for this tournament, right? Miami was in first place. Now they're not. I would imagine that they're going into this game with the goal of obviously winning and pushing themselves into a position to win a cup, right? So, yeah, great result for the Rowdies. Dominant. One of the more dominant results from start to finish this year, I would say. I mean, Sarasota was just very comfortable the whole way.
Yes.
2-goal win versus the 3-goal win here against Miami. We killed Pittsburgh at home, but it took a while for us to settle into that one early on in the year. For me, this game seems to be the most complete 90 of just, knock that first goal in the first 15 minutes and don't really look back, right? Again, Miami had a moment at the beginning of the second half where they had an opportunity to say, okay, regroup, down by 2, we got to go get a goal. And the Rowdies just, snuffed that out before they even had a chance. Dominant, complete, awesome. By the way, it's awesome that you have a guy like Dolabella who is just a great player. We know that. Wasn't super impactful in the first half. And you can still look around to the rest of the guys on the squad, and like everyone else is probably going to pick up the slack where someone else might not be having their best day. You know what I mean? Every single guy on the field seemed like they had one of their better games of the year, while Dolabella, was a little slower in his offensive production than maybe he would like. It's awesome to me that you can take him off and bring on Marco Micheletto. You can bring on Carson Hunderlong, Evan Conway, Lewis Hilton, Lawrence Wyke off the bench. Lawrence Wyke came off the bench and made his 100th appearance for the Rowdies, by the way. So a special shout out to Lawrence Wyke for joining the 100 appearance club for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which has been growing over the last few years. It's been awesome to see players stick around for a while. We'll have to start a new one in a couple seasons when this group hopefully stays together. It was a good game, James. It was a good game.
Yeah,
I can leave it at that. Luis Perez, awesome goal. MD Myers, beautiful kind of like half volley situation.
Oh yeah,
off of the corner kick, deflection, cross goes back in. MD Myers, beautiful finish. What else? Who's the fourth goal?
Max Schneider, and supposedly,
yeah.
From Jake Nutting from the Rowdies. Mateus unfortunately did not get the assist on there.
Really?
Looks like he did, but he does not.
Okay. Yeah. Max Schneider found himself at the back post. Nice finish. That's tough. I mean, if you're watching this game, I'm talking about fourth goal. Ball kind of finds Max Schneider alone at the back post, trickles through on the corner kick. Not an easy finish, especially for a guy that's not an attacking player. Max Schneider sits in the back, kind of lets the game come to him. Nice that he's able to be aggressive, get in the box, and score a goal or two every once in a while. Obviously had that rager of a goal a few weeks ago that was not credited to him for whatever reason. But I'm glad he actually got on the score sheet in this one officially. Shout out to my dad in the comments. All I can say is that they are playing awesome, he says. And my dad is the most cynical watcher of his teams you'll ever find. He could find like a flaw in Sebastian Guenzati's play when he was having like his best year ever. Or even though he loves Leo, he'll be like, Leo didn't play a great game during his MVP season. And I'm like, really? So if we got the stamp approval from him, there's probably good soccer going on. James, anything else to say on this game before I keep rambling about just how fun it was to watch? We didn't even talk about the back line, really. We talked about everybody except the two center backs, Schaefer and Dos Santos, who I wouldn't say had like a ton of big moments to really, account for, but were solid. I think a lot of their slow night or just quiet night, which again isn't a bad thing if you're a center back, was because the midfield was just very compact. We had a lot of the ball. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for Miami to do much of anything. Right. Of course, they got their goal later on in the game. I think it's kind of just a mentality thing. We slowed up a little bit when you're up 4-0. I don't blame them. I'd love a clean sheet that finishes 4-0, but am I really going to complain when, the only goal you give up is in the 80th minute after being up 4-0? Probably not.
No, I wouldn't necessarily complain about it. What I would complain about in this case is how the goal happened. Worth noting as well that Lawrence Weick made only his second appearance of the 2026 season, one in the league and now one in the cup. But on this one, the goal scorer for Miami, he, with a give and go around Lawrence Weick, beat 5 people to put himself in the position to get the shot where he beat Jamali Waite. That's what I want to not ever see again. Sometimes that happens. Lionel Messi's beaten 10 people before he scored a goal. So it's not impossible, but let's be honest and say that this man is not Lionel Messi.
Mason Turnbridge is not Lionel Messi. I can confidently say that much.
Mason Turnbridge is not Lionel Messi. Let's not let him do that one ever again, is my opinion. Good goal for him. If it weren't a 4-1 loss, then that would be a goal that he could have on a loop on, like those picture frames that people have in their house now that are digital. Ooh. So they go through an album. Instead of that, they just have that goal on a loop in his house, except they would have to cut out the score bug, obviously, because it was a giant loss. But I would not like to see us give up that type of goal again. Nobody should be beating 5 people, even if there's a give and go in it, in against us. That's my opinion. Otherwise, yes, I think it was a great performance. I think it was a great win. And those 3 points, they're ours.
Yeah. Schaefer got a little bit cooked on that one. I mean, the whole midfield did on the give and go, but Schaefer got a little bit worked with that touch that Tunbridge took. Regardless, fair complaint. I'm fine with it though. I think everybody just fell asleep a little bit, which, as like a diehard fan, you want to be like lock in all the 90 minutes. And I'm sure Casciato gave him some flack for that in the locker room. But as a fan, maybe faux journalist who just cares about the result.
Carlos, if I can also just, while we're on the topic of faux journalists, or in this case, faux fans, I did pull up the highlights to remind myself of everything before we recorded this one. And there is, I should have expected it, but it's still surprising. Why is the stadium empty, and where is Messi for Miami?
I saw that comment. Yeah, I saw that comment. It's funny that to this day, this is still a thing people think. There's had to be like a number of people that go to these games at Pitbull Stadium and think they're going to see Messi play, right? Like, I don't know how often it happens anymore, but clearly the comments are still confused about what Miami team this actually is. Maybe it came up because of their whole like beef with their fans or whatever recently. You see that on Twitter, James?
I don't know if I did.
Inter Miami fans are like beefing with the players because they're not, clapping for them or like saluting them after a game. They used a chant that's like traditionally in South America very anti-player, and you only really hear it when you're losing by like a bunch of goals or you're in last place. Miami did not lose by a bunch of goals, and they're nowhere near last place. So this was a talking point in Latin America, Hispanic Twitter, giving the Inter Miami fans some flack and calling American soccer not real because the fans are a little silly. It was fun. Go check it out on Twitter. It's really funny. Just look up Inter Miami and you'll see like all the stuff going on with Messi, and Messi like pulled like the players from going to like salute their supporters group, and they went to the locker room.
Well,
He was like so offended by them singing this song.
more trouble in paradise, I see.
Yeah. Regardless, we're not an Inter Miami podcast, and thank the Lord for that. With all due respect to any Rowdies fan that like cares about Inter Miami for some reason, I'm sure there's like a couple people out there. I'm sure there's got to be an Inter Miami podcast out there, right?
I would imagine that there are probably multiple competing with each other.
Yeah. We'll keep talking about the Rowdies for now. Rowdies win 4-1 in front of a raucous crowd of 700 people. Shout out to the handful of Rowdies fans that made the trip down there. Always good to have green and gold in every stadium we play at, especially in stadiums where there's literally no one there, because someone's got to bring some level of atmosphere. Seriously, you know how hard it is for these guys to like get up for a game when there's like there were more people in their college soccer stadium. You know what I mean?
It's literally true.
How hard, like it's that must be so difficult for these guys to like get up for a game at Pitbull Stadium, 20-something thousand people capacity, and there's like 5 people there, and like maybe a hired band that Miami FC went with for the day. I'm sorry. It really pisses me off that like we still have teams that drag the league down a lot. Not that the league is like infallible either, but you know, it's annoying me at this point. James, stop my tangent. Who's your man of the match in this really, really fun 4-1 drubbing of our neighbors down south?
I would not go with anybody on the defensive line. I cannot see their stats on this one, but even for the if anybody did happen to get double digits, I would not follow it here, because we did have a really good attacking output in this game. MD Myers, I should point this out. MD Myers was the USL Prinks Tires USL Cup player of the round. Geez, that is a mouthful. But anyway, he did do that. And, you know, for that reason, I would probably lean towards giving MD Myers my man of the match award. But I really got to go with, I think I'm going to go with Luis Perez. Luis Perez is my man of the match because of that sweet, sweet finish. MD Myers had his own sweet, sweet finish. And by the way, on the third goal, he set up the play that led to him scoring the goal. It was a give and go from like 40 yards each way.
Beautiful.
But I still got to go with Perez, because that first strike was so sweet. It was so sweet. So I'm going to go with Luis Perez, despite my better judgment here, which is that MD Myers is possibly on fire.
I will take MD Myers for the record. MD Myers is so fun to say as a name, and I've said that before. I'll say MD Myers forever. I won't just say Myers ever. It'll always be MD Myers when we're talking about him. See, even Eureka includes MD Myers. When Eureka's typing up the little graphic in the corner with the name, for Perez, it was just Perez. But for MD Myers, it's MD Myers. Guy played a ridiculous game. Prinks Tires, man of the whatever, the round or the week or whatever they're calling it. I think it would have been a lot more fun if this was still the Jägermeister Cup and we give him like we give him like a shot or something like after the game. That'd be awesome. Like a shot with the crowd. Well,
we have there are accounts on Instagram solely dedicated to weird player of the match awards, and I'll tell you, we're not going to get back on there if we're the Prinks Tires Cup. We got to get some stuff on there and make our way onto the right parts of Twitter. Yeah,
like look how viral that one guy for FC Dallas went this week. What's his name? Sam Sarver, something like that. Stoppage time winner. Had a fun celebration in front of San Jose's supporters group. Falls back behind the advertisement board and then shotguns a beer that gets thrown at him. Legend. That's Americana. You know what I mean? That's peak, right? A Mexican beer being thrown at the guy, shotgunning the beer, like the most, frat looking white boy you've ever seen. Like
this is awesome. Like a frat boy.
It's awesome. It's all like that's peak American soccer, right? I think we embrace the wildness of American soccer sometimes, and we need to give MD Myers Jägermeister a shot of Jaeger or a Jaeger bomb before the next cup game. we embraced the weirdness of American soccer. We're still called the Tampa Bay Rowdies, all these years later. That's awesome. So let's go for it. And by the way, not that we do this on this podcast, but I give Perez my goal of the week, because you're right. The goal was sweet, but I mean Myers, more complete game overall, more influential in my mind. Mm-hmm. But Perez goal of the week for sure. Okay, 2 games to preview. We went a little bit long with this Miami recap, I think, but there's a lot to talk about. It was fun, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. And now we're in a good spot, James. We're chilling. The Jägermeister Cup is ours, or at least the group feels pretty comfortably ours for the moment. I think we'll get a lot of rotation, like I said, for the last 2 games of this group stage. Yeah, this will be fun. This will be a fun kind of way to ride it out. Shameless plug, by the way, before we talk about New Mexico and Phoenix. Liking and subscribing is free. But if you need some new threads, you can support this podcast by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com and checking out all the fun designs that have been cooked up over there. Link is in the description, shop.rblrsports.com. Promo code COYR for 10% off everything you see there, not just Rowdy stuff, but all the Tampa Bay sports stuff over there. Yeah, go check it out. I know at least my dad and my girlfriend Faith are listening live. I wouldn't mind if you guys went over and bought some new merch. That's all I got to say. Like, we got some summer travel coming up. I think we should be repping RBLR Sports this summer at the World Cup, at Rowdies games, at a wrestling show we're going to. Go get yourself some merch. Shop.rblrsports.com. Okay. Preview number 1. James, Rowdies, New Mexico United. First time the Tampa Bay Rowdies are ever playing New Mexico on the road. We've played them twice in 2023 and 2024. It was 2 wins for the Rowdies, both at home. A 3-2 win in 2023 with goals from Ryan Spalding and Charlie Dennis, and a 3-0 win in 2024 with 2 goals from Cal Jennings and 1 from Manu Arteaga. Will the Rowdies be able to keep up their winning ways against New Mexico? Will the Rowdies be able to keep up their streak of 3 goals when they play New Mexico? I don't know. They got a weird field, so probably not is my guess, but we'll talk about it. James, tomorrow, 9 p.m. our time, 6 p.m. weird West Coast time. The Rowdies taking on this squad from New Mexico. They still play in a baseball stadium. Not a huge fan of it. They're still finding their form. A team that has played great soccer in the USL over the past number of seasons. They've had some great seasons. But this has not been their most stellar start to one of them, right? Still early on in the year, so don't take their 9th place position in the West Coast in 7 games as gospel for what this team actually is. They have a number of really interesting names, including former Rowdies keeper Raiko Arozarena, of course, brother of former Rays player Randy Arozarena. They have Jake LaCava playing right back for some reason, former Tampa Bay Rowdy again. We don't know for sure, James, and I'd be lying to you if I said I've seen a lot of New Mexico United games this year. Raiko Arozarena may start, but you also mentioned Chris Shakes in net. Do you got any intel on these guys? Are they they have a cup keeper, or they just been rotating a little bit early on, still trying to figure it out?
So with this one, I don't actually know for sure what the deal is in terms of there being a cup keeper or not. But I will say that the Raiko Arozarena started the last 2 games, so that includes the cup and the league. What I'm expecting here is that New Mexico have not been doing particularly well, and so I believe actually what happened is that they are giving Raiko Arozarena a shot. He started in their game. Yes, he did start in the 3-1 win for New Mexico against Las Vegas. And while I'm on
his former team,
yes, that's true. Chris Shakes was on the bench for that one. So my understanding at this point is that it is Raiko's job at the moment. And maybe he has earned that because of what they've done in training. Maybe he has earned that because Chris Shakes has been bad.
He's been shaky. Shaky.
Exactly. It writes itself, folks. But so I think that Raiko Arozarena is the person that we're most likely to see in this one. Although, it should be noted, He was out there for their cup game against Colorado Springs, which they lost 4-0. So,
Damn.
let's say it's mixed results.
Okay. Yeah, trying to figure themselves out early on in the year. We'll see. I'll go through some of the names that James you've jotted down as names to keep an eye out for their starting 11. Jake Lakava, right back, Malik Howell and Kip Neller, or Nico Hemalainen. You also have Nico Hemalainen and Chris Gloucester making up the rest of that back line. So I don't know, James. I'm just reading the names. You tell me what's wrong or right. You got Zico Bailey.
My assumption is that Kip Keller will be the center back and Nico Hamalainen the left back, but Hamalainen could also play as a center back. He's more naturally a left back, but he has been starting more frequently. So if he moves to center back, then it'll be Chris Gloucester, who is also a left back, out in a total of a back four.
Fascinating. Kip Keller, the bigger guy out of the two, by the way, 6'2", to Hemalainen's 5'10" frame, which is a lie. If you're 5'10", you're really 5'9". Okay. They also have Zico Bailey and Usman Jabang behind Niall Reed, Steven, Valentin Noel, and of course, another Tampa Bay Rowdy, former Tampa Bay Rowdy, Deon Harris, who I loved when he was with the squad. Brings a lot of pace and width and kind of one-on-one dribbling ability to any team that he's on. So keep an eye out for him as a name you'll know. You'll also probably recognize the name Zico Bailey if you've been paying attention to the USL for a little bit. Guy who's racked up a good amount of minutes, played some great soccer. Can't imagine that he won't be a factor in this game as well. Of course, Greg Hurst up top for New Mexico United. Greg Hurst is also a name that you might recognize because he's been with New Mexico since 2023. Had a couple of really good seasons for them. Before that, he was on that Phoenix Rising squad in 2022. Was that their good year? I can't remember. Potentially some overlap. He was at Union Omaha in 2021, had 14 goals in 30 games over there. I can't remember off the top of my head which of our guys were over there at that point, but I would be surprised if there wasn't any overlap there, or if there wasn't any overlap there. Okay, James, give us some of the numbers. Who are we looking out for here? Who's leading the charge for New Mexico? Who should we be scared of?
Yes. So Niall Reed Steven is going to be, he's the leader with 3 goals, while Deon Harris has 3 goals. And the wings are obviously important here. But the issue is, well, I guess it's not an issue. What I should say is that we hopefully, it's not all the same players, obviously, but we hopefully have the ability to contain these guys on the wings. The wings are going to be the obvious danger areas. Niall Reed Steven coming in from the wing, and he is their top chance creator, top big chances and little chances, as I've said. But he is the top creator for both of those categories. And obviously, with his 3 goals, he is a danger man on his own. Deon Harris on the other side has 3 assists. So we should be looking for both of these guys. Again, if that's the case, we know where their attacks are going to come from. And what we should do is try to hold them back with not only our possession in the wide areas, meaning those triangles that we've discussed already between whoever starts on the left, whether that's Ostrom or Cruz, and whoever starts on the right, whether that's Akoff or Cruz. We should hope to pin back their wingers. And on the other side of things, if they're going to try and get a lot of crosses into the box, which is my assumption, then Brian Schaefer and Nathan Dos Santos just need to be wary of that. Keep an eye on Greg Hurst. He is a good striker. He's not, terrible or anything, but he's also not somebody who's going to blow you away all the time. He's somebody that we should be able to contain. That's the way that I'll put that. Lots of former Rowdies, so hopefully we have a relatively good idea of who these guys are. Again, there's very little actual overlap between Deon Harris, Days, and what we have in this roster now. Jake Lakava is another one. Not many players on this team played with him in the past, so at least not in our colors.
It would just be Wyke or Hilton, maybe, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's right. So this is going to be a tough game because we're away, and New Mexico is not a bad team, but at the same on the same token, I want to point out that this is a very good opportunity.
Upper.
This is a very good opportunity to get 3 points for the Rowdies on the road. Every game on the road is tougher than your games at home by the nature of travel, especially in the United States. To New Mexico here is not close.
Yeah.
But we can win this game. I would like us to get 3 points in this one. I don't know if it's going to happen, obviously, or doable or what have you, but it is a good opportunity to get 3 points, in my opinion.
Yeah. In the past, I would have said, the field is awful enough to be a determinant factor in the result of this game. But I made a point a couple weeks ago that I'm going to run with, being that we have a much younger roster than we've had in the past few years. A lot of these guys are not too far removed from their USL League One days, which has a number of awful fields, a number of awful baseball fields.
Oh, yeah.
They're not too far removed from their college soccer days, which has a number of turf fields, not a ton of baseball fields converted into soccer stadiums, with the exception of maybe like Seton Hall that I can think of off the top of my head, random. Regardless, a lot of young guys are maybe used to crappy fields, right? Hopefully they haven't gotten too accustomed to the luxury of Al Lang Stadium, the Waters Complex, when they're able to kind of, get stuck in on a crappy baseball turf field and then, make some magic happen. New Mexico is a tough place to play for a lot of teams. They have a great crowd. And for us, we've had trouble in the past in the West Coast. It's just difficult to make that trip out there and be fully confident in your ability to not get too affected by the travel and everything. And again, the awful field. I'm hoping the new roster and the younger nature of this team is able to counter that. But we'll see. I think that's probably one of the reasons why we didn't see Cicerone this past weekend against Miami, right? Save him up for this game, let him run around, make some chaos against a team that has conceded a good number of goals. New Mexico conceded 11 their last game, and that's not counting cup play, which their last game they just conceded 4 against Colorado Springs, who's pretty good so far this year, but not anything, knock your socks off good. They also lost at home 4-0 a few weeks ago. It was last month, April 1st, against El Paso, who is kind of middle of the pack. No, sorry, they're in the top 5 in the West, but bless you.
Thank you.
So they can concede a good amount of goals. I think if you go out there and you just kind of play the game you've played so far and play your game as much as you can on that weird baseball turf, you can come out of here with a good result. Just looking at the numbers. Again, I haven't seen New Mexico United play a ton of games. I've seen some highlights now and then this season. Raiko Rosarena is a pretty good goalkeeper. We had a bad taste of Raiko because of the sour memory of losing that cup, final against Orange County. But he's a pretty good keeper. So maybe it could be a determining factor in this game as well. But we'll see. Interesting to see Lacava at right back. Scared of Deon Harris. Scared of any former Rowdy to play against. But particularly in this game, I think it would be Deon Harris, who I'm a little concerned about. We're young. We have a lot of pace. I think we can keep up with him. We should be able to contain this attack that's finding itself a little bit still. Okay. That is my takeaway. That is my high-level approach to this game. James, how are you feeling? Should we talk about predictions here?
I don't know where I'm going, so if you would like to start predictions, then we can do that.
I'm going to go with a 2-0 win. I'm not confident about that. I side note, don't tell anybody. I feel like a draw is the most likely result here, truly. Going away, it's tough for us. Going away out west, even more difficult. Going away on an awful field, even a little bit more difficult. Regardless, I like how we've been playing. I like how the attack is gelling. I feel pretty comfortable with the idea that we can go out there and get a result. But the draw feels most likely. But I'm still going to go with a win because I don't want to pick a draw. I feel like that's bad juju, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I will go in reverse order then. Connor, our writer, has gone with a 1-1 draw, as Carlos has reprimanded. And Parker, our other writer, has gone with a 3-1 win. So well done to Parker. Eureka, a 1-0 win. And I am, you know what, Carlos? I don't mean to try and steal your thunder here. It came to me just looking at everything, and I do think a 2-0 win is the most likely option here. That's my option.
Not that this is like determined, not that this means anything for our standings, but who are scoring the goals in the game for you?
Ooh, that's interesting.
To separate ourselves a little bit.
Louis Perez probably won't start this one just because of the timing of everything. And MD Myers still could. I'm going to say, you know what actually I'm feeling? I'm feeling Brian Schaefer gets a goal on a corner.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Carson Henderlong gets the second.
Oh, off the bench, you think?
That's my idea.
Okay. I like that. I'm going to go MD Myers gets an early goal, and then Dolabella puts it out of reach in like the 70th minute with a header. That's my guess. And we win 1-2. Yeah. New Mexico pushes the last 20 minutes, but doesn't really get anywhere near their first goal of the night. Okay. That's our hyper-specific prediction. Let's jump into Phoenix really quickly because we do have that game this weekend as well. This one's at home. Yoga on the pitch in this game, by the way. You can get tickets for that on the Rowdies website. Looks like a blast. Go take your yoga mat over there and do your yoga on the field and have mimosas after. That sounds like a great day, if you ask me. Comes with Rowdies ticket. There's a little line in the article the Rowdies put out about if you have season tickets already, how you can get the yoga tickets. So I don't know, go ahead, call your ticket guy. But should be a fun one. Military Appreciation Night, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Rowdies hosting our frenemies over in Phoenix Rising, who I still am traumatized about every time I hear the name when I think about that COVID Cup final that was never played. Rowdies have a favorable history against this squad, against Phoenix, particularly at home. 2 wins, 1 draw. When we've been away to Phoenix, we've also won once and drawn once. You might recall that really fun, somewhat legendary in my mind, 5-1 win against Phoenix Rising away. Just some awesome names scoring in that game. Jake LaCava, Dalen Harris, Armin. You remember Jake Armin?
Yeah.
He scored in the stoppage time, and then 2 own goals from Phoenix Rising, a team we've had a good number of success against in the past 5 years. Phoenix are 5th out west with 13 points from 9 games. James, you said their recent form is better. Could you tell us who is making that push for them? Why are they looking a little bit better?
Yeah, we can get into that here. So Patrick Rakowski is likely to be in net behind Colin Smith, Papmar Boye, I believe it is. It's either Boy or Boye. So my Senegalese is not that great. Adrian Palayo started the last game where John Sears had started previously. So I'm going to go with Palayo because Sears is looking to be in the midfield. And then Luke Biazzi. So that would be a backline again of Smith, Boye, Palayo, and Biazzi. Midfield of John Morsu, John Sears, and Diego Gomez is most likely, with Hope Avayevu and somebody else in the midfield. So I'll explain this here a little bit. Their probable midfield trio, the actual center of the midfield, is going to be John Sears, that I've mentioned now 8 or 9 times apparently, John Morsu, and Diego Gomez. Hope Avayevu, a very good player last year, is likely to be on the left wing. Charlie Dennis has been their most frequent right winger, and he was sent off in their last league game. Therefore, former Rowdy Charlie Dennis will not be involved in this game. And I'm not sure who's going to replace him, but Phoenix have a very good track record generally of playing the kids. I expect that they will do so again here. Colin Smith could also move up from right back to right wing, and then they put somebody else at right back. So there are lots of options, but Charlie Dennis will have to be replaced. And based on all of their most recent lineups, which I went through to try and come up with what this would look like, I just don't know who's going to be their right winger. Provided they continue to play roughly in a 4-2-3-1, which is generally what they have done. It'll be interesting to see exactly how that works itself out. Up top is Izan Sako. He is actually doing very well. 6 goals and 2 assists. And in addition to that, the most chances as well created for this team. So Izan Sako is going to be a tough player to shut down one way or another. He is the guy that we are going to have to worry about. And obviously, he is the guy that is most responsible for their positive recent form. Sako, we gotta try and kick him out of this game somehow, whether that's marking him out of the game, hopefully not injuring him, but hey, whatever. And he's the danger guy for Schaefer and Dos Santos or whoever ultimately gets back there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the Rowdies coaching staff have been working on this for a little while, and they know what they're dealing with. They are going to have better options for shutting all of these individual players down than I could ever offer. But let's just be aware as a fan base that Izan Sako is the guy Izan Sako is their danger man.
Yeah. I wonder when that scouting report starts to make its way to the players for this Phoenix team, right? Is it right after they wrap up on Wednesday in New Mexico? Are they already thinking about this? Because they only have 2 days between Wednesday and then match day on Saturday.
Yeah.
And they got to travel in there. This is tough stuff to do. This is why American soccer has such a learning curve for folks that come from overseas. This is the most difficult part of American soccer is the travel when you have these midweek games.
Imagine just for a second what the Rowdies players most likely had to do, because I'm not sure, but my assumption is they took a bus to Miami. That's probably 4+ hours, depending on traffic. 4+ hours back, assuming they don't have a hotel. I don't know, actually. Then
let's say they have a hotel. Let's say they have a hotel, and then go back. They leave Sunday morning, right? Let's say they have a hotel. Get back Sunday. You have the rest of the day off, which is not a lot of the day, right? You practice Monday. You're leaving for for New Mexico at the latest today. Right?
At the latest today.
Might even be Monday, right? So you're probably back at home for 1 day tops, right? You go to New Mexico. You fly back after the game, probably, is what I think the kind of the protocol is here. So you fly back late Wednesday night, get in really, really early Thursday morning. And then you've got a game to get ready for at home against a pretty good team in Phoenix. So regardless, I think the guys are up for it. I think there'll be a little bit of rotation because of that. It's a tough portion of the schedule right here that we're in. Probably the most condensed it gets, to be honest. Maybe we make it far in this Jägermeister Cup, and we get to drink Jaeger bombs at the end of the year with a trophy. And there's some extra schedule congestion. But on paper, as it stands, this is kind of one of the more congested portions. It's probably the most congested portion of the year in terms of amount of games and travel. Next time you have a Wednesday game is at home against Charleston, following an away game on the prior Saturday to Jacksonville, right? And then after that, you have another home game. So much less travel the next time a Wednesday game rolls around. That's actually, by the way, that Charleston game is June 10th, so not too far around the corner. A little bit of a congested schedule next few weeks, but that's why mentioning this, because I think it'll be a factor, right? Travel, boys get tired here. In a normal Saturday, I'd be a lot more confident against this Phoenix team at home, even though New Mexico is lower in the table. I would feel more confident about this game against Phoenix Rising at home than I do against the New Mexico team away, just because we feel so much more comfortable at home. That's all to say. James, do you have a prediction you want to share?
I think so. I have gone, I think because of the congestion here, I'm going to pull myself a little bit back, and I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, which our producer Eureka has also gone with a 1-1 draw. Parker, our writer, a 2-0 win. Connor, our writer, a 2-1 win. And Carlos, last one's up to you.
I'm going to go with a 2-1 win. Despite everything I just said, we're on fire. I think if we one day lose a game, which I don't know if it'll ever happen, if we one day lose a game, I feel like it might be the following weekend away to Louisville, right? So just a back-to-back big games coming up here, getting ahead of what we'll preview next week, which of course will be away to Louisville the following weekend. Tough team, obviously always a tough place to play. But I want to say if we do lose a game, I don't want it to be before that Louisville game, right? Let's keep this streak up, and then go into Louisville, keep the momentum, and screw it, we'll get a win over there too, right? It's a lot of travel. Like I said, this is the tough part of the year right here, including you have a full week, but then including an away game against Louisville the following week, right? The travel will be a lot, but I think these guys are up for it. I mean, they haven't shown me otherwise. They have a lot of guys they can rotate in. You could play, MD Myers one half and bring in Henderlong for the rest of the half, for the rest of the game, for a full second half if you want to really rotate some guys. Let's get a good start against New Mexico and then hold on to a lead with some backups, quote unquote backups, be rested up for this game against Phoenix on the weekend.
I like it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, Carlos, that is our 2 previews now. You have something in the extra time segment, which is actually, this is pretty big news here.
Yeah, I saw this online this past week that the NCAA and the coaches, I don't know who approves it, but the coaches vote on it, approved extending or adjusting the men's college soccer season to a 2-semester season. So it'll start a little bit later in the fall than it normally would. They usually start like right as the fall semester starts in August and September. I want to say they're going to start for sure in like September, and then break in November, resume play in February. So you have a full academic year of college soccer, which I'm sure for college athletics staff is annoying to have another like seemingly full season of college sports to cover. I haven't fully fleshed this idea out, or like not really fleshed this idea, really thought this through about like what the consequences might be for like NPSL, right? Or like USL League 2 for these leagues that rely really heavily on college talent. It's not like they'll overlap in the summer, right? Like they're still playing during the academic year, and these 4th division summer league teams, for lack of a better word, are playing in the summer. They're actually kicking off this week. Last weekend, Virginia Dream played their first game of the year. And this week on Thursday, I'm going to go check out District Elite. They play on the campus of Catholic University, and they play their first home game of the year, right? So these games kick off in the summer, but we were talking about it with Eureka. Brought up a good point about like maybe the value of playing those summer games at all. If the season starts a little bit earlier in the fall and it's a longer college soccer season, do you want to be playing like an intense summer of soccer? Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. I can't remember. James, do you know if that comes into effect next season? I believe so, right? I want to say
I believe it will be 2020. It won't be this upcoming year. So obviously the next semester is going to be 2026 to 2027. I think it will be.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It might be that one. Yeah, actually, I think you're right.
Yeah. I'm like 90% sure it kicks off this fall with the new season or with the new format. So interesting. Keep an eye on that if you like college soccer like me. Obviously, big Georgetown soccer fan, and produced a lot of great USL players and some MLS guys as well. Keep an eye on this. I like it. It's more college soccer, but I'm sure there's a number of different takes for why this is an awful idea or a great idea. But time will tell. James, this has been a fun podcast. Rowdies win 4-1, and we have 2 big games this week. It's a really, really big week of Rowdy soccer. Tomorrow night will be a stressful one for me because Liga de Quito also plays a massive Libertadores game at 8:30 against Lanús. That'll determine their likelihood of making it to the knockout rounds of the Copa Libertadores. Stressful Wednesday night for me. I hope you join me in at least part of the anxiety in watching this Rowdy squad take on a wild card of a New Mexico team. Follow us, James, at RBLR Sports, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, anywhere you get social media and you're doom scrolling, we're there. Follow me at CarlosGPA10. James, where can folks follow you?
I am also on Twitter at RBLR James K.
Beautiful. And you can get the full experience, see our lovely faces. I promise I'll get a fade this week. I'm going to Nashville this weekend. I got to clean myself up. I look like a lunatic right now. And you can see my new fade sometime next week. Probably Tuesday when we usually go live. Follow us on all the social, on all the what is this called, James? Podcast. That's what we call this. This is a podcast. You can follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get podcasts. We're probably there too. For another week, for another great win, and for another week of undefeated Rowdies soccer, James. Let's keep up the streak. Let's make it 2 more games undefeated. Let's make it 12 games straight of Rowdies undefeated soccer to start the year. And then 13 against Louisville. Come on, you Rowdies.
Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.